Right back here on the Classic Metal Show. It is Chris Aiken here, and on the line right now, he's going to be performing at the Funny Stop in Cuyahoga Falls this Friday and Saturday, and he is one of the funniest motherfuckers I have ever seen live. He is the co-host of the Anthony Cumia Show. He is, of course, the comedian Dave Landau. Dave, how are you, man?
Good, man. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, Dave, I was watching the show today. And I'll just tell you, I came in late. I was busy, pretending like I was responsible, and I turned on the TV at about, I don't know, maybe like 5:45, and I look, and there's a chick, there's a sort of guy that looks like a chick, there's Ian Fidance. And there's you and Anthony looking like you just wanted to crawl under the desk and run.
Yeah. I more wanted to just stay and see how far that could go. Yeah, we had Mason Reese on, who I guess child star was on like the Dick Cavett show.
All right.
Apparently he didn't grow.
He has an odd look. I didn't realize it was a guy until the very end when it showed the Twitter thing or whatever, and I looked him up. I was like, who is this?
Yeah, he kind of looks like if there was a fire at a wax museum and that's what was left of John Goodman.
Very nice. Well, it was very, very cringy. It was old school O&A, only it was you and Anthony. And my God, I couldn't believe Anthony was so horrified because, he used to be the instigator of that kind of abuse that Ian was throwing on, what was the girl's name? Sarah Russi?
Yeah, Sarah Russi, the porn actress. And, Anthony usually goes at it. He's just so non-confrontational now, but I think that's kind of how he stirs it a little bit,
right.
Is by, letting it happen. And it was honestly a really good interview. Everything was going well. We were all talking and having fun, but then she started attacking Mason. And then saying stuff about how, like, well, he's not a billionaire, I'm not going to sleep with, like, just really
right.
kind of belittling him. And Ian just summoned, his nerd rage and just ripped her apart. Like, it was just, it was just absolutely magical, to be honest. I could not stop laughing because he just dissected everything. And then, she came back with the typical, like, I bet every girl you fuck is ugly and
right.
this and that. And then he just made great comments. Like she said, I just did my first anal video. And he's like, is that with your dad? And everything that he was saying, I just was dying laughing because I was half saying it under my breath. Right. And then he was just saying it as loudly as possible. But yeah, that relationship is no good. I see murder-suicide in their future.
Yeah, I would say. The funniest part of it was, too, is that Ian would say something horrible, and she would try to come back, and he would just keep going, What? We're all having fun here.
Well, yeah, she would try to come back by saying it was very surface, very shallow, and very, like, she didn't know what to do.
Right.
And she'd try to just cut him, and then he would just come back even funnier the next time around. And then then the best part for the people who don't watch the show, they had a Pomeranian,
yeah,
and the thing kept hopping up at the table and going to attack Ian like every time he ripped on her. It was crazy. Like the dog knew. I was fucking dying.
Dude, it was, and I got to imagine, I will watch it later on today. I'll watch the rest of it because I cannot even explain to you. I literally was looking at my TV and I was like, what the fuck did I just turn on here? I was like, this is bizarre.
It was, just believe me, I felt the same way. I think Anthony felt this. I don't think any of us knew it was going to go that way. I don't think Ian did. I just think that Ian, truthfully, he just saw a woman who was using a guy and then decided to sit there and get angry at him and, like, shit all over him. And Ian just that wasn't going to have it, and it was beautiful.
It was awesome, man. Well, Dave, you obviously have been doing the Anthony Cumia show for quite a while now. Has it been a year? It's been at least a year, right?
Yeah, well, just a year in May, actually. So
okay.
Just a year.
Yeah,
this month. Yeah.
And I'll say it, and I know you've probably heard it from some, and I know Twitter tells you other things, but you've revitalized the show. The show was, for me, I love Artie, but it was tough to watch Artie. It just was, and you've really revitalized it, man. You've really given it a good energy, and you and Anthony play well off of each other, man. It's just refreshing to turn it on every single day.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that, and that's what I think we're trying to do, is really get back to the comedy and just kind of make it a hang. And today was really reminiscent of where I think things can go, and that's the kind of like good dynamic radio that we really do want to do. And Anthony is one of the best broadcasters to ever live, and that's not just kissing his ass. It's like, It's just he's great at what he does. It's so cool to sit there, and I love when we have good guests on and can just have fun.
No doubt. Now, has it helped your comedy? Has it given you a push, whether it's, new fans? Like, I'll admit I'm one new fan, but, I mean, has it brought new fans to your comedy and bringing new people to your gigs?
It actually has, yeah, and Rabbit fans at that. People show up and they're in the Cumia Show shirts. I have people fly in from other states. There's people that are Rabbit fans of the show and come out and have been very supportive and cool to me. And it's like, yeah, you're going to get that fair share of people that, it's just kind of part of this world who are on the attack. But, I mean, that's, I guess that's just part of it now. But, it's done a lot for me. And I think it's more and more every day, to get new exposure to people.
Sure. Now I got to tell you, when you were here in October, I brought some friends with me that were not familiar with you, and they don't watch Tax, and they're like worker people that actually have to go out and work, so they don't watch TV a whole lot.
Sure.
But all they had seen, because I was hyping it big time, because I was like, you got to see this guy. He's so fucking funny on this show. And they went out and did what everybody does. They went to YouTube and they watched a couple of Comedy Central pieces or what have you. And
right.
And I'll tell you straight up, they were lukewarm at best. Come that day, they were like, the answer was, well, are we going to go drink after this? Going into it.
Right.
And
I
was like, hey, if you guys want to. And you just killed when you were here in October, man. It was so much fun. We were choking laughing. It was some of the stuff that you were talking about, the stuff with the dryer and the babies and stuff. I was like, holy shit.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing about TV and stand-up, is it doesn't always do it justice,
Mm-hmm. And
there really is nothing like a live comedy show to kind of show you what somebody really does or is about, or, any of that stuff. Like, and a lot of the Comedy Central I've done is storytelling, and, there's a difference between that and a club set. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, a live experience of a comedy, I've always said, is just better than any way to watch stand-up comedy, is just see it live.
Sure, it definitely is, man. And unfortunately, though, we get into today's world where it's got to be, for a guy like you, it's like a minefield to negotiate what's going to offend people or what they're going to whine about. And I know you have to look out at the crowd when you get some dummy yelling at you or giving you that, and just be like, what entitles you to dictate what I'm doing here on this stage?
Sorry, exactly. Because what's odd about that is we now live in a time where you can see what I do online, or at least some version of it, before you come to a show and you've made that choice. And even if you have, you might be offended by something I say or whatever it might be. It's what's most bothersome now is like what you just said. It's not so much yelling out or being disagreeing. It's just that blank stare of anger, or that like loud, just bothered by something that you've said. And comedy is simply that. It's words put together to be funny, to entertain an audience. And people that get offended by it, it just does not make sense. Not everything I do is going to be for everybody. My whole show is not going to be for every joke isn't going to be for you.
Sure.
But that's just part of it, That's just part of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And now I just don't worry about it, because I'm already on the Cumia show.
Yeah.
Hollywood's not knocking down the door for a middle-aged white guy. I'm right in the position that I need to be in because I'm able to showcase my talent daily on a show and then go out and do stand-up comedy. So I kind of unapologetically just do what I do.
Right.
And I just don't care anymore because the idea of trying to please everybody is just going to destroy you. It's never going to work. And now, I mean, everybody is so loud. So everybody has the ability to go online, to talk, to complain, and it's just not, you can't let all of that consume you. Like, you might as well just do what you do and just keep doing what you do. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot perform expecting to please everybody. I mean, we on our show, we do a very much smaller version of what you guys are doing, but I mean, we rattle the cage, in our little world too. And, what can't, there's really no rhyme or reason to thinking that anybody's going to do only stuff that applies to that. Look, I'll give you a prime example. I'm a fat dude. I'm just am. And
right.
and being a fat dude, what am I supposed to stand up and walk out if you tell a fat joke or something? I could eat a salad. You're just telling the joke. It's up to me to not get all stupid about it, right?
That's the part of taking it personally. It's like if somebody's sitting there making short jokes, I'm not going to start crying. It's the fact that everybody's flawed, everybody has their own insecurities, everybody's bothered by certain things, and sometimes comedy's the funniest when it's taboo or almost tongue-in-cheek cruel. The idea that no comic is ever going to just punch below the belt for the sake of a laugh it's a bullshit lie.
Right.
Of course you're going to. We all do it. You're going to take the high ground, low ground, whatever it is to get that laugh in your comedy.
Yeah.
So there's really there's no reason to be apologetic for it. The idea, and like you said, the idea that somebody shows up to a comedy show and says, well, this should just be for me, it's absolutely insane. And for the most part, I'm well received. And when I do shows, private shows, corporate shows, I write it for them.
Right.
When I do recovery shows, I talk a lot more about drugs than I would in a normal venue, where you can get away with a little bit more stuff. Like, there's certain stuff I'm going to cater to the audience just because that's what you're paying me to do, is entertain the audience.
Sure.
But still, you're showcasing who you are. And now, like I said, you can't do anything without someone getting upset.
Right.
So you might as well just do it because it just doesn't matter.
It's almost the old Howard Stern theory of if 20% like you and 80% don't, you're doing your job well, right?
That's 100% true. I mean, when you think about it, the person who pleased most people, I would say, comedically, or was most popular, was probably Bill Cosby.
Sure.
And he was a sociopath. And I mean, that was almost a disguise for who he really was. So, what does that say? Like, clearly that takes a certain kind of mind and narcissist to even figure out the kind of comedy that's going to attract that many people.
Sure. And really, if you look at all of the big guys, the big names of comedy, they're all, I mean, they're not to Cosby's level of being a sociopath, but I mean, you can name, Kinison was out of control. Richard Pryor was completely out of control. It seems like the stalwarts of it, other than Carlin, were just, they were a mess in their personal life, which kind of gave them a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and I mean, Pryor made it great because Pryor took something that America had never seen before and kind of brought out the ghetto in it. And he also took stuff that was so deeply personal that most people couldn't share and make funny. I mean, when Pryor started doing that and Carlin started doing that, really, Carlin was still doing like hippy dippy weatherman, and Pryor's, talking about very, very real shit. The way that Lenny Bruce wanted to do but couldn't quite get there, and I find that to be, so interesting how, what he went through. And if Pryor had stayed the way that he was, because initially he was very, very white. There's no other way to put it. He was trying to do Cosby. He was trying to make it that way. He was trying to be on all the late night shows. If Pryor had stayed like that, he would have never become the legend that he was. was.
Right.
So he offended everybody, and look what happened. He's a god.
Yeah, exactly true, man. Well, Dave, moving forward and looking at your career, both past and now. I mean, you've kind of touched a little bit on everything, between commercial radio and national TV, and now you've got, obviously the Cumia show, which is pretty much the first of its kind of a podcast / live show thing. Why is it that with all of that stuff on your resume, you've done films as well? Why are you not getting a Netflix special?
I have no idea. I think it almost comes down to who you even contact for it. I have had a couple of people offering now recently to produce a special and to sell it and that sort of a thing. But I don't know when it will tape. I know that I will be recording a new album this October.
Okay.
And I also may be doing a special around then, too, because I have had a couple offers, which is cool. But it's not necessarily for Netflix, but it's from excuse me, companies that want to produce my specials.
Very cool.
So I've also never been in a rush to get stuff out, As weird as that sounds, I like to write. I like to put stuff out. I like to create. But I really want a special to be special. So once I do it, I want it to be what I want.
Sure. What did you think of not only his special, but the way he put it out of the new DePaulo special?
Oh, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really good how he put it out. I mean, he didn't mean to put up a photo of a kid who had died, but
right.
I mean, I like that he put it out on YouTube. I like that he made it accessible to everybody. He put it out there to be commented on. It was very fearless. And to be honest, I expected a pretty angry special because the way that he put it out, and it wasn't. It was just really funny, classic DePaulo.
Sure. Were you surprised that YouTube didn't yank the plug on it? Because it did. It crossed the traditional YouTube lines.
It did. I'm surprised, but I'm not. YouTube they're very finicky with what they do with their content, and I think they're still able to get away with having some stuff out there because they don't have to take responsibility for the content because it's uploaded, as opposed to Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, even Amazon to an extent more like that, but like a Netflix or a Hulu where they actually have to produce it or claim it or put it out there,
Right.
It's not really their doing. It's uploaded from a different party.
Sure.
So I think they were able to kind of dodge around it. That's the thing about the internet. So it's still the Wild West, and it'll be interesting when that finally stops.
Yeah, might not be good when it finally stops, though. It might kill a lot of this.
Be terrible.
Yeah, I could definitely see it killing a whole lot of the quote cringe humor that's out there completely.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's not a lot of places to do it, and yeah, so I don't know if it'll be beneficial. We'll see, but I mean, eventually there has to be some form of across the board regulation, I think, and we'll see. I mean, I hope not. I think people should be able to say what they want, but we'll see.
Yep. I guess we're all going to find that one out together. Might not be painless, but I think we're all going to find out probably sooner than later. I would think too. The way everybody's moving and trying to appease everybody anymore. I can't imagine it's going to be too much longer before the right lawsuit hits or something.
Yeah, you have cyberbullying. I'm watching it today where a guy's teaching his transgender daughter to shave.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. It's just heavy-handed bullshit that is where a corporation's trying to make money off of something.
Yeah.
If it wasn't so transparent, I might support it, But it's just this pandering nonsense. And, yeah, so the way that we're headed, I can't imagine. I can't imagine what the world's going to be in even 5 years, let alone 2,
Yeah, I'm with you. It's more and more. I find myself watching less and less of anything new and more of old classics from the 70s, 80s, and 90s just because of that reason. Because, you turn on Netflix to watch a comedy and you're force-fed Spanish one day at a time or, which is,
Right.
you're just not getting entertainment, at least for, I think, me, you, our people that listen to us collectively have that mentality. We like it a little bit harder and rougher and a little bit less, more anarchist, I guess. And I guess that's not a great word for it, but I you know what I mean.
No, and there's these little gems, F is for Family, South Park, Family Guy, certain things where you have these, that's almost just animation that's still able to get away with it. And, obviously, with the Apu thing, with The Simpsons and everything else, who knows how long that's going to even be allowed.
Right.
And now people are furious with South Park because South Park doesn't take a stand against, or a stand with either side. It rips
Right.
on everything across the board. And people now don't understand how to handle that. And that's what was the beauty of George Carlin, was his whole thing was everything is stupid and here's why.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, Dave, one more question about tax, and then we'll wrap this one up. One thing that I notice about the show, and I'm sure you notice it because you're constantly shifting chairs, is that there's always a multitude of guests, and
Yes.
I wonder if you're cool with that, or if you wouldn't like to have one show a week maybe that's just you and Anthony just kind of shooting the shit without three other people at the dais with you.
Yeah, Anthony and I kind of would like one day a week where it's just us, and then sometimes scheduling gets behind and people get booked, and then, so we just kind of have to go with it because we, of course, want our guests. But, yeah, Anthony and I have, we have discussed that where it's like at least every other week it's kind of cool just to have us hang out and talk.
Sure. And it's just more natural. I guess it's more natural. We went through the same thing where we were having a guest every single week. I was like, oh God, all right. Now 10 o'clock is blown because we're going to this guest, and it's like, sometimes you just want to shoot the shit and see where it goes. Right.
Absolutely. And when you have a good guest today, like Ian Fidance, who fits right in, and other people who slide right into the show, it's great. Mm-hmm. The bad part is when you just have a guest who, I don't know, maybe they don't want to be there, maybe they're tired, maybe it's just not, and it's a bit of pulling teeth. That's when it gets difficult.
Sure.
But for the most part, most of the guests we have are pretty cool and get the show.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. I certainly want. The last time I remember a guest not getting the show was, God, way before your time when Bennington was on with the guy, the Nazi guy that wanted to fight him.
Yeah, that got really ugly. Yeah, that's really ugly.
That was awful. Well, Dave, you are going to be here in Ohio at Cuyahoga Falls at the Funny Stop. It's a great little comedy club. Are you doing 2 nights or 3?
2. The website says 3. I don't know why. But I'll just be there Friday and Saturday.
Okay, excellent. And there's 4 shows, like 2 each night?
2 each night. Yep.
Excellent. So go over there to the Funny Stop. You can go online, get tickets, get reserved. I will be there. Some of the people from the show will be there. Dave will obviously be there. It's going to be a great time. So, Dave, where should people go if they want to keep up with you and find out everything that you're doing?
They can go to @Landau Dave on Twitter, DaveLandau.com. That's LANDAU. Team Landau on Facebook. And, yep, that's it.
Awesome. Well, Dave, you're somewhat of a rock and a metal guy. Why don't you pick a tune for us to wrap this one up with?
Oh, let's see. I'm going to go Crazy Train.
All right. Easy enough. Well, check it out. Right, it is Ozzy. It's Crazy Train right here on your Classic Metal Show.